All right, let's bring in now criminal defense attorney and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Motta. Bob, thank you so much for your time. So we just heard Alex's report there. We also heard from the prosecution that Allen allegedly confessed to these murders. We're seeing in the court docs. He told his wife, and he told her multiple times during a phone call. Is this a smoking gun? If so, how much?
It absolutely could be. So I was in the courtroom back on the 15th of June when that revelation kind of hit. And at that point, they didn't get into it. There was a sidebar. The attorneys had gone up in front of the judge after the confessions were brought out in open court. And then, of course, everybody in the gallery was like, oh, my God, there's confessions. So we were all dying to know what he said. And at that point, we never got to hear it. So when these 118 documents dropped yesterday, obviously, all of us that have been following this case from the beginning, started diving in, and we started to get more details. And the details that mattered to me at that time was when he made the confessions. Because if they were early on, in terms of him being incarcerated back on November 3rd of 2022, that's when he first got moved to Westville Prison, and he is being held in a prison, not a jail. But when that happened, if it's closer in time to that, the argument that his mental illness or any kind of purported mental illness would have made those somewhat arguable in terms of whether or not they were valid confessions, much weaker. Now, when you go to the fact that he's been incarcerated and basically in segregation 23 hours a day, it's a stronger argument for the defense. But I think there's some real problems with it. I think when you kind of dive into these documents, the things that stuck out to me were the fact that the defense is kind of creating some revisionist history, because when you look at the dates of their visits, and I'm talking about Rosie and Baldwin when they went to go visit their client, there was a date that they said that they were there, and it was a typo in the actual motion. They stated in the motion that they were there on the 23rd of April, 2023, but I think they meant March 23rd, because in the next paragraph, they talk about on April 3rd, which is when this smoking gun phone call takes place between Allen and his wife, where he makes all these admissions about killing the girls. That is 10 days later. So they must have been talking about March. And when they're talking about his mental well-being in March and late March, they said he was fine. So, and then as soon as he makes these confessions, all of a sudden, now his mental well-being is destroyed, and he can't form sentences. He can't have communication of any kind of substance with his lawyers. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be a real tough challenge for the defense to try to mitigate these potential bombshell confessions.
So, Bob, let's talk about that. His mental health is, apparent or alleged deteriorating mental health. Do you think that's going to impact the trial?
It depends. When I left that hearing on the 15th, I was stunned that they hadn't challenged his competency yet. And there's two different things. I mean, I want our audience to understand that challenging a defendant's competency is completely different than saying they're insane and putting forth an insanity defense. They're two completely different standards and deal with two completely different things. In terms of if they're saying that he is incapable of assisting in his own defense now, then they should be challenging his competency. And I'm a bit surprised that they haven't. At this point, it seems like it's legal maneuvering by the defense in terms of they are trying to figure out the best way to deal with this bombshell, because they didn't know what happened. I'm imagining what happened is that after this phone call that his wife, Kathy, called them saying, he just confessed to everything. What is going on? And then they ran out to the prison and they did a visit on the 4th, the day following that phone call. And that's at that point is when we start hearing about all the issues, mental issues, and like they were saying he had some psychotic, issues that were arising that they weren't able to communicate with him. So it's going to be a very, very tough challenge for the defense to overcome these confessions.
Yeah, no doubt. So much more will come out, during the trial if that does happen. All right, Bob Motta, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider, and don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.